Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Along with her trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction and brings us guests who provide useful information on industry-related topics and trends. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk, KGVO. We welcome you to Missoula Real Estate Today. Very nice of you to make us a part of your weekend. It's presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. And our guests today, they were on KGVO's Talkback not too long ago. Got a lot of phone calls, generated a lot of interest. Great guests to have. We have Karen Sippy, Executive Director of Trees For Missoula, and also Marie Anderson. Marie's the Urban Forestry Specialist for the City of Missoula and Parks and Recreation. So, gals, welcome. And Karen, I guess I'll ask you right away, what is Trees For Missoula and how did it come to be?
Well, Denny, thank you so much for having us here. Trees for Missoula is an advocacy group for the urban forest, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit volunteer organization, totally. And we go out and plant trees. We have volunteers that prune trees, but a lot of what we do is advocate for trees. We really keep an eye on what's going on in Missoula and try to make sure that people are not only planting trees, but taking care of their trees.
All right, advocate. It's hard to imagine that you would get a lot of resistance promoting trees for your community, but there's probably some skepticism. Maybe that's not the right word. I don't know. If you were to be asked, why do we need more trees? How do you answer that?
Well, we need more trees because they give us such great benefits. We have economic benefits, social benefits, health benefits. All that just covers the gamut of what trees can do for us. And we've got an aging forest here in Missoula right now. We are going to be losing quite a few of our trees in our older districts, and so we need to be continually replanting after those trees are gone. We also have some newer neighborhoods, new developments that, of course, need to be treed, as well as business parks and business areas that really need more trees in those places. I think that a lot of businesses don't realize that people spend up to 11% more in treed business districts than ones that without.
Wow. No, that's a statistic that, regardless of what number you had told me, that's a statistic that I wouldn't even thought to use.
Oh, absolutely. People want to mill about on Higgins Avenue and spend time there under those shaded sidewalks rather than a street without those sidewalks. They won't spend time there.
All right. Very good. You kind of gave the umbrella definition, Karen, of what all Trees For Missoula does. Some of your specific duties as the executive director of Trees For Missoula.
Executive director, I am the liaison between the volunteer core group and Parks and Recreation. Okay. I keep our city council members informed of what's going on in the urban forest. We like to talk to any kind of groups. We teach kindergartners about trees. We even started a high school class out at Big Sky High School to tell them about trees. So we can talk about trees all day long.
And Marie Anderson, Urban Forestry Specialist, City of Missoula Parks and Recreation Department. And what is your connection with Karen and Trees For Missoula?
Thanks, Danny. Thanks for having us.
Sure.
My connection with Trees For Missoula, and specifically with Karen, her and I work very closely. We actually get together and we plan the urban forest projects for volunteers. We create that space for people to come in and actually be an active member of the urban forest and, do plantings and prune small trees. And they really help get our trees the love and the care that they need and actually help urban forestry maintain more of the trees than we would be able to otherwise without them.
This is Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate and our guest, Karen Sippy, Executive Director of Trees For Missoula, and Marie Anderson, Urban Forestry Specialist with the City of Missoula. How does Missoula compare to other communities in our size range? Are we a pretty good tree town right now?
We are. We're actually Tree City, USA, and so every year we plant number of trees. We maintain a certain number of trees, and that keeps that, Tree City USA status going. We've been one for 30 plus years now. We celebrate that every year with our Run for the Trees in Arbor Month in April, and Yeah, we're very lucky. We're very fortunate to have an urban forest. We currently have roughly about 30,000 trees in our inventory currently. That number we expect to grow very quickly. We're going to get ready to do an update to our inventory, and so we're thinking we might add between 4,000 and 5,000 trees to that number.
And you use that term urban forest, yes?
Yes. Okay. Urban forest is actually all of the trees and shrubs within the entire urban forest in the city limits. Parks and Rec, what we manage is that which is on public lands, so boulevards, park spaces, green spaces.
You promote and encourage new trees in part to replace existing ones because, as you said, many are showing their age. But are there any areas of Missoula that you look at, and this is a personal opinion thing, Karen and Marie, feel free to answer it however you want to that way, but are there any areas of Missoula that you look at and think, gosh, this is an area that could really use some new trees?
Absolutely. I think it's really citywide. You know, we have the older areas of Missoula where we have trees that are aging out and are structurally, they're past their prime. We also have those newer areas of town where we can get more trees, and we have actually Invest Health Missoula. We've partnered with them, and they've identified areas with high vulnerability rates, and so trying to bring that urban forest connection and Karen she can expand upon this, but.
Yeah, so the Invest Health community, they created a map, and they identified the North Side and West Side, River Road, and Franklin the Fort neighborhoods as communities that were especially vulnerable health-wise. And when I heard that statistic, I'm like, I know what we need to do. We have to plant more trees there. And I have also volunteered for the sidewalk inventory. And I did the inventories in those particular neighborhoods, and I sent Marie probably daily planting sites of this would be a great planting site. Oh my gosh, they've got irrigation. Let's get a tree in here. So there are places spread throughout Missoula where we could really use more trees. And every fall we have volunteers who plant bare root trees. We're going to be planting about 85 trees this fall. They're mostly going to be going into parks around our new playgrounds to give them some nice shade in the years to come.
So that was a pretty good question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You are assisting the city of Missoula with an urban tree census. Marie threw out a number a little while ago, but other than an estimate of population number, what have you learned so far?
Well, what we have learned is we actually do have a healthy urban forest. We need to keep it healthy by watering it, and that's really the most important thing. We are losing trees in these older neighborhoods because of age, but the ones that are staying are the ones that are being watered. If these trees are being removed, it's because they weren't watered, and we just need to make sure that that message gets out there.
This is Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate, and our guest, Karen Sippy, Executive Director of Trees for Missoula, and Marie Anderson, Urban Forestry Specialist with the City of Missoula and Parks and Recreation Department. Gals, before you came in to be on this show, you were meeting with University of Montana students whose classes start on Monday to talk trees. I assume what all went on there during that meeting or that presentation?
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to welcome groups of U of M freshmen that are incoming and introduce them to Missoula's urban forest and what that is and how that benefits all of us and what they can do to help. And so we just walked around Bonner Park and we showed them some of the big tree species and explained, what they do. They have, this wonderful appraisal value, but what does that really mean? And what can those trees be used for?
And the really great thing that we realized was the two groups of students that we were with yesterday morning and this morning, none of them were from Missoula. Out of probably 25 students, 3 were even from Montana. So we were able to just give them a nice background on why we think our urban forest is so special and so important. I grew up in the Midwest, and you just really didn't think about it. You kind of put a tree in the ground and maybe watered it. Didn't really have to think about that. And we have so many people coming in from other states and other cities, and they don't understand the geology of Missoula. We got to talk to them about Glacial Lake Missoula and how all of our soil was scoured out of here, and it's now growing wine in southeast Washington and growing herbs and things in Willamette Valley. And so we had no soil here. And the founders of Missoula, they imported our trees, and they actually delineated our streets before a single building was built. It was that important for them to have these trees here, but they had to have care and soil with them. And so before even any European settlers were here, there wasn't a single tree in our valley. They only existed along our waterways. And Missoula is such an inhospitable place to trees that they really require us. They really require people to help them help us. We can't have a livable city without trees, but they can't survive in our inhospitable environment without us giving them care and planting them properly and watering them properly. So it's really cool to be able to give them this background of Missoula and why our urban forest is so special and why it requires special care.
Did they have any tough questions for you?
You know, they were really kind of pretty quiet. It was early in the morning.
Well, when's ice cream? Nice.
Yeah.
What, and both of you can answer this if you'd like. What are some of your favorites that, trees I'm talking about, some of your favorites that, with respect to climate, you'd like to see more of?
Oh, wow. With respect to climate, I think I'd like to see more bur oak and more lindens. Our bur oaks are actually one of the few native oak trees that we have in Montana. They are only native for a very, very small corner of our state, but still counts. They're amazing. They do so well with compaction and, absorption of stormwater and, cleaning our air, helping our air quality and sequestering carbon. And not only that, but they're just really, really beautiful and do very well in urban areas with lots of compaction and salt.
Yeah.
Same with lindens. They have such an incredible history. Our carousel horses were carved actually from basswood, and it's just there's such a great story behind the lindens. And then not only that, but they do so well in our valley, and we have some beautiful ones in Bonner. We have some great examples of what those trees can be, and they do very, very well with salt and all of our urban.
Yeah. How about you, Karen?
I don't know if I know of a specific species that I think is especially great for our climate that we know is changing. We do have a new climate assessment for Missoula. We know that our springs are going to be wetter again. We're going to have longer summers that are drier and hotter. And there aren't going to be too many trees that are going to be able to handle this really no matter what. The nice thing that we do have going for us is we have a really healthy aquifer. And so when we do water trees and when we do it well, and we're not using big fan sprinklers and evaporating all that water, if we keep it down to the ground, use soaker hoses, water low and slow and get it down there, we aren't wasting our water. Our aquifer is really a very healthy aquifer. That water gets filtered, it reinforces and reinvigorates our aquifer. The trees are doing well. And so really, the trees we have in Missoula aren't great for our climate to begin with. They need help. And if we didn't bring in these shade trees, we wouldn't have a livable city. So it kind of goes hand in hand.
Right.
A lot of people want us to, what about drought-tolerant trees? All trees need water when they first need to get established. But most trees will thrive. We don't want trees just surviving. We want them thriving. You get the most benefits from trees when they're the biggest.
Yeah.
So you get most shade from a big tree, not when you keep planting little ones that you have to keep replacing because you're not planting the right tree in the right place.
Yeah. Well, you both answered that question with such passion. Now, let me follow up and say, is there a person with the city of Missoula, or Maria, is it you? Is there somebody who decides? You've got your favorites, but who decides what trees are going to be planted in Missoula? Do we have a tree czar?
So yeah, that's kind of me.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
All right, look for a lot of lindens coming up.
Yes,
right?
yes. Look for lindens in your
yeah.
future. No, actually, we do have an approved street tree list, and that was it was a collaboration of local arborists, myself, Karen, and urban foresters that really went through. Basically, we took the forestry book, sat down and went species by species, and we're like, is this appropriate for our soil pH? Is this appropriate for a street tree? Is the structure going to work? And it literally was, hundreds of hours of going through and making this list for Missoula, and it's available on our urban forestry website. So please check it out.
Oh, yeah.
What's also really neat is that the Urban Forestry Division has worked with a number of neighborhood councils, and they have tree councils for these neighborhoods. And these neighborhood council teams decided what they wanted the future of their neighborhood to look like. What's the character of their neighborhood? And they went through and they got to choose what trees they want to replace when they lose street trees. Which trees do they want their neighbors to have a choice from to replace those trees? So these neighborhoods, I think we're up to about 9 or 10 neighborhoods that have created their own street tree lists specific for the character of their neighborhood.
Nice. It's Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. And our guest this morning, Karen Sippy, Executive Director of Trees for Missoula, and Marie Anderson, Urban Forestry Specialist, City of Missoula Parks and Recreation Department. Okay, so we are on a real estate show, so let's acknowledge homeowners a little more. Karen, you got started on that just now, who might want additional trees on their property. Is any tree a good tree, or do you offer recommendations as to what might be best for the property they live on?
We like to go by the Arbor Day Foundation's mantra of right tree in the right place.
Okay.
Not every tree is ideal. You need to look above you and see if there are any overhead lines that you don't want to interfere with. You want to know what's below you. That's why you always call 811 before you plant a tree, to make sure that you don't run into any water lines, sewer lines, any underground fiber optic lines. That's quite an expensive repair if you ever run into a fiber optic line. So be sure to call 811 before you dig. But if you go through our street tree list that is on the city's website, there are so many beautiful options to choose from. There's great descriptions. If you want trees that bloom, if you want trees that fruit, if you want to have habitat, there's just so many things to think about.
Yeah.
And then where you want to place it. We know that 3 well-placed trees on a home on the west and south side will save, 2 to 4% of their energy bills. And if you don't have an air conditioner, you don't need an air conditioner if you place the trees in the right spot around your home. So it improves the property values. Trees are known, statistically proven, to improve property values, but at the same time, they're saving you property costs. And they preserve your streets. They preserve the asphalt equally. Planted trees on a street slow drivers down. Trees make neighborhoods safer. They're just a great place to have. Besides bringing the habitat in, having those songbirds come through is just quite lovely.
I'm going to ask you to elaborate on some of those benefits a little more in a moment here, but when you were on our local weekday talk program, Talkback, you got a lot of questions. A lot of listeners were calling in with questions. And what are some other basic questions or tips that you share with homeowners? You probably get those asked to you a lot.
Yeah, I think one of the most important questions that I get is, how close can I plant this tree to my house? And the nice thing about our list that we have on our website is it actually gives you those dimensions. It tells you how big that tree is going to get, as it matures, how much room it's actually going to need in soil to grow and actually not interfere with sewers and foundations and all those kinds of things. One thing it popped in my head when Karen was speaking just a moment ago, that I've heard twice so far in the last week with all the hot temperatures, talking with homeowners, they've said, I don't have air conditioning, I have a Norway maple. And it really drove that point home. It's so important to plant those trees, and just for the cooling aspect. Right. And also, like in the wintertime too, if you do plant a tree, you want to make sure you're not planting maybe an evergreen, where you're going to get the heating benefit from the sun in the winter. So, there's all kinds of things to think of.
Is it a natural inclination to maybe want to plant? You said, one of the questions you get is, how close do I plant to the house? Is the natural inclination to plant it, in your mind, maybe too close? Because you're telling me I'm planting this tree so I can get lots of cool shade. Well, if I'm going to get lots of cool shade, I need it close to my house.
Not necessarily. I think that's definitely definitely an assumption.
Yeah.
But one thing that we always want to think about is what's this tree going to do as it matures? Trees are lovely and they're very cute, and they're when they're small and they look so perfect. They're like that puppy, you get it. It's super cute,
Like
and then
puppy.
it turns into this giant dog. Okay. So you got to think of what is my baby tree going to turn into? Am I going to have this cute little spruce tree in my front yard, or am I going to have this massive tree heaving my foundation?
All right. Missoula Real Estate today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate, and our guest, Karen Sippy, Executive Director of Trees for Missoula, and Marie Anderson, Urban Forestry Specialist, City of Missoula and Parks and Recreation Department. Okay, we got started on this. You've got a lot of benefit pages on your Trees for Missoula website. Let's start with examples of environmental benefits, or expand on that, I guess I should say. Trees are trees are pretty good folks, aren't they?
Trees are miracles, I think,
Yeah.
and they deserve a hug. Trees actually they capture all of the pollutants that our vehicles are spewing out of our mufflers. They are capturing stormwater. They're retaining the water, bringing it in, recharging our aquifer. Those are a couple of really good environmental things. They cool our air. A group of trees will cool an area up to 9 degrees difference. When I moved here, I grew up in the Midwest. And when you would go under a tree in the Midwest, you got a little cooler because we had so much humidity.
Sure.
Here, I was shocked. 16 years ago, I moved here, and I kept saying, it's so much cooler in the shade. We don't have humidity, but it does go about 9 degrees cooler in the ambient temperature. So we've got some great environmental benefits. Mostly it's cleaning our air, filtering our air, and cleaning and filtering and storing our stormwater. We live in that semi-arid climate. We need to retain our stormwater as much as possible. Trees do that for us.
Social and health benefits, maybe some things there that folks might not readily associate with trees.
You would be amazed, Denny. We have patients in hospitals. If they have views of trees, it is proven that they heal faster. We know that students who have views of trees from their classrooms can concentrate better. It improves ADHD. Even children who take walks in the parks after school, it is proven to improve their ADHD symptoms or issues that they have. It actually creates a community. When you have a neighborhood that is treed, neighbors tend to come out. It is amazing how much more neighbors know each other in a treed neighborhood than one that is not treed.
Economic benefits have studies actually shown there are some with a thriving urban forest. There actually are economic benefits to that.
Our urban forest, in our current inventory of just about 30,000 trees, as Marie mentioned before, we have probably about 34,000 trees. Our current inventory of urban forest is worth $103 million. It's worth more than our water system. So it provides so many benefits, and it is from a program that was created from the U.S. Forest Service. It's scientifically proven. We're not pulling these numbers out of the air, but all of these trees provide such economic benefits. We do know that property values increase. We know that business increases. We know that people are more comfortable being in spots where there are trees. I recently had someone say that they moved to a neighborhood here in Missoula because of the urban forest.
Wow.
That's why they came here. So we do know that there are great economic benefits, besides saving money on your utilities if you plant trees properly around your house.
And you have a volunteer program. What are some of the things volunteers get to do?
We get to do great fun things. We get to plant trees. And we have fun planting trees because we plant bare root trees. So we don't have to dig these ginormous holes in this rocky soil that we have in Missoula. We have a bare root tree program that we started 4 years ago out at the wastewater treatment facility. And the first 2 weeks of October, we have volunteers go out and they plant trees in our parks and in our boulevards. In the winter, we have our volunteers prune our trees, our young trees. We call it formative pruning. So we're creating a safe, strong structure of these trees so that when they are mature, we don't have any dangerous, structurally unsound trees out there. We also have volunteers who help me pull weeds. We had a great grant project that's on South 6th Street West along the Bitterroot Trail. It's a shade shelter that we partnered with Climate Smart Missoula. We had Willard students come and help us plant dryland grasses around there. And we had a bunch of volunteers come out and help us finish the grasses and spread the mulch out. Home Resource helped us construct the shelter. MMW Architects designed the shelter for us for free. They're very gifted, talented people. We're really lucky. So we have all sorts of things that volunteers get to do.
Nice. We'll tell you how you can volunteer in a moment here. Karen Sippy, Executive Director of Trees for Missoula, and Marie Anderson, Urban Forestry Specialist, City of Missoula Parks and Recreation Department, on Missoula Real Estate today. A special thank you to some of Diane Beck's marketing partners that help bring you this program: Rob Fleming of Man Mortgage, Miles Link of Opportunity Bank of Montana, and Carol Blodgett from MakeItMissoula.com. I was looking on your website. Missoula Art Park has a suspended pavement system. First, where is that? I guess this is three questions. Where is that exactly? What is it? And what are the reasons for doing it?
The Missoula Art Park is actually this beautiful art plaza in between Adventure Cycling and Missoula Art Museum on Pine Street, right next to Patty. And it is an urban forest best practices and latest technology demonstration site. We've had a couple of groups from the DNRC from all over the country come and tour it, actually. So this is a site where not only do we have this really cool, one of my first grant projects that I did with Parks and Rec, the suspended pavement system, we have the right tree in the right place. We have shared green space where the trees actually have some good soil volume to share. We've got trees under power lines that will never grow up into them. They will never have to be pruned into big old Ys around the power lines. So right tree, right place. We have it all irrigated. The suspended pavement system is really cool, and there's a great sign right by the tree there, right by that Portland Loo, the big silver bathroom right there. And it describes and gives a picture of what this system is. But it's a system that literally holds up the pavement so that the soil for that tree is non-compacted. It's 98% non-compacted soil volume. A lot of people do not realize that tree roots need water, they need nutrients, but they need oxygen. We don't mean big air pockets. Air pockets kill, they dry out. But compacted soil, it'd be like someone sitting on your chest, Denny. Someone really, really heavy, and you just can't breathe. So when we have trucks drive over tree roots, and that's really going to be my biggest example, or we put a cement pad on top of tree roots, that is pushing out all of the available oxygen for those roots, and it's killing that tree slowly but surely. So this system that's underneath this pavement holds up the cement. You can drive a semi-truck over it, and it will never compact the soil there. And it also gives us, we measured how much space this maple tree down there will need, and it's about 1,100 cubic feet of soil that's underneath the concrete over there. And this tree will become a full-size maple tree in downtown Missoula.
I know you'd both like to give out a website for contact information, so before we run out of time here, Karen Sippy, Executive Director of Trees for Missoula, and Marie Anderson, Urban Forestry Specialist with the City of Missoula. If folks would like to get more information, maybe volunteer, find out more about your programs, what's the best way to reach out to you?
You can reach Karen Sippy through treesformissoula.org, and there are multiple ways to contact me. There's even a volunteer form. You can tell me specifically what you're interested in. Or if you just have a question, you can just send me a question through the website. That's going to be the easiest way to find me.
Nice. How about you, Marie?
And you can reach me. My email address is very long. So it's a good thing we have a couple minutes left. I'm M. Anderson, so it's MANDERSON @ci.missoula.mt.us. And thankfully, we also have a form online. So if there's a question you guys have, you can just email City Trees at that same exchange. And all of that will come to me.
Well, we ran out of time, but not out of questions. You gals did a great job, and now you have to come back. Okay, is that a deal?
Promise, we will. Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today. If you have any suggested topics for any future Missoula Real Estate Today programs, or any questions about buying or selling, contact Diane Beck with Windermere Real Estate. Email DianeBeck@realtor.com. or visit our website, homesinmissoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.